that there is a rational and logical connection between the recommended finding and the evidence in the record. The issues to be decided on, there are two allegations. Number one, Sergeant A used inappropriate force while taking the appellant into custody. The finding on that was exonerated. Allegation number two, Officer B used inappropriate force while taking appellant into custody. The finding on that was exonerated with debriefing.
Thank you. Okay, discussion.
There are a couple of things that come to mind. Well, the first thing that this is in regards to the first allegation. It is the Directive 1010.20, and it says it is the policy of the Bureau to accomplish its mission as effectively as possible with as little reliance on force as practical. The Bureau places a high value on resolving confrontations when practical with less force than the maximum that may be allowed by law. The Bureau also places a high value on the use of de-escalation tools that minimize the need to use force. My concern with Sergeant A is that he did not attempt to de-escalate. Everything seems to happen so fast. When he approached, he said that the complainant was incredibly angry, yelling why the F was stopping you. Didn't want to approach right away because of concerns of it being escalated. But once he visibly saw cover, then he did decide to then approach. And all I kept thinking is, well, what about the crisis unit? A witness who, I don't know if it's witness B, but the security, he said that complainant appeared to have post-traumatic stress episode. So this is someone who is, I'm sure, not always engaging. He's a security officer, so he probably is engaging with the public a little more often than maybe the rest of us, but not nearly as frequent as police officers. If he was able to notice that this man might be having a post-traumatic episode, I don't understand why a sergeant, someone who's out all the time in the field, didn't say, well, he is angry. I don't even want to approach him right now because it doesn't feel safe. Didn't think, well, let me contact the crisis team to see if he can de-escalate this. Or let me use the tactics that the Portland Police Bureau had rave reviews in the New York Times about for de-escalating when there's a mental health behavior issue. And that is a big concern of mine. So by the time cover approaches and then there's Officer B now using the force and using the taser, I just feel like there was some time in between there where there should have been some de-escalation tactics. And the use of the taser is a serious concern of mine because it's used when his hands are behind his back. Whether he has a cuff on or not, he's being tackled by 3 people. I just don't understand why the taser was being used. And a point that Mr. Mulgate stated is true, and it's in the procedure under 1051. It talks about photographs of the injuries after the use of the taser. Now, the photographs aren't allowed if the person does not consent to them. But there's no mention of photographs taking. There's no mention of why these photographs weren't taken and what was the discussion and what was the rationale and even the use of taser. And one of the statements that says taser, and then it was deployed. And I don't know how to even give someone an opportunity to correct themselves before it's deployed. And it was such a short span of time when there's a deployment of 4 weeks. And it concerns me that we also don't seem to have the training in place. There are still grave concerns to me that when the safety is removed, if the officer is holding it like they would hold a gun and bump the button, then someone's going to be tased. And that accident is just one that could be fatal to someone. And if you're already receiving charges to your body, an accidental one is just not acceptable. It's like accidentally shooting someone. It's not acceptable. So I just think that we have to be concerned about that. And we have to be concerned that it's like, well, this might be a risk, but we're kind of going to assume the risk because this doesn't happen all the time. One time is one time too many. And that's just my concern.
Mike, sorry, the photo?
Mike?
In the after action,
No.
I don't know if that's what you're looking at. The, it's says here by a particular sergeant who conducted the after accident time, that the appellant was unable to be photographed due to his behavior. So I just wanted to let you know that that part was part of the file.
You mentioned it's working right there. You mentioned that the appellant, that the witness security officer said that he felt and he witnessed the appellant may have been suffering a post-traumatic stress disorder. Can you cite that? I mean, can you get the line to that? Because I don't recall that.
So the statement that was done on June 24th, 2015 is on page 2 or 4. Let's see if I can find it in here. It's on
It's
the
probably not, but as in the, you
No, it's in
know
the
that
packet.
is.
Yeah, I have the.
And it's by a witness, right? Not
By
by
the
an
witness,
officer.
it's by the witness who was security guard.
Okay. Because there is a lot of, he said talks a lot about, it's kind of confusing whether, he was talking about the appellant or he was talking about, in that case, the victim or the,
Oh, no, he wasn't referring
To the
to,
victim.
he did say that there's an interaction and they described him wearing an orange t-shirt on the bike and that he was circling. And he kind of flagged down the officer too to say, hey, that's where he is. These were all.
can you ask questions or we pass beyond the period or? Can I ask questions? Okay. So, this is for the RU manager. The officer does talk about in his interview that he wasn't thinking about mental health. And so the question that kind of developed here is, if he would have been thinking about mental health, how fast or, how long it would have taken for a crisis intervention unit to arrive on scene? Do we know?
I'd have to go look at training records, but Officer B and the partner that was in the car with him are both at least crisis intervention trained, if not both ECIT officers. But I don't know what the date is that they have received that training. So it could have happened afterward, or it could have been at the time. So the answer could be they were there, but they didn't perceive it. Or the next question is, getting on the air and asking for someone that is specially trained to arrive. It could take a couple minutes. It could take up to 5 to 10 minutes, depending on what part of the city they have to come. So I really can't answer your question with specificity.
And I also have a question for the appellant. It is stated by first contact officer A and second contact officer B that you were reaching into your pockets, tossing things up in the air. And so I just wanted to know, what were you trying to accomplish with that action?
Sergeant A was drawing his weapon on me. I saw the handle of his service revolver. He was at his door. The other two officers were at their doors. As they exited, they placed their taser weapons between the windows of their doors and this windscreen. And I threw my wallet and my keys out of my short shorts because they were focusing on something about me which I could not figure out. Why was someone, I had never had anyone start to draw a weapon on me. So I thought, it's just in the back of my mind I was getting held up. I threw my wallet and my keys. Okay, take my car, take my money, take my credit cards. It just was one of those reactions. They said I threw my cell phone, but I did not. It was actually in a different part of the shorts. So, their recollection of the incident, the narrative isn't quite complete or accurate anyway. So, that's my answer.
So, but you do reach into your pockets then, and you search and you toss things up in the air?
I had my hands in the air because I was scared, shitless. And I said, what did I do? What did I do? I'm not homeless. The other two officers appeared in the same car, put their taser weapons between their doors and the windscreen, at which point I went into my pockets of my short shorts and I'm riding my bicycle exercising, lifted up the keys in my right hand and my wallet in my left hand, got it on me right now in my left pocket, same as I always do, my keys in my right pocket as I always do. These were short shorts. I just didn't know why they were focusing on me. Dove in and threw them down 6 feet in front of my toes. They were 25 feet away from me, all three of them. At which point they said, turn around, turn around. I followed their only directive. And then they came and you saw the video. The rest is there.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I have a question. I'm sorry, I know we're supposed to ask about training during training sessions, but sometimes it gets triggered as we go. So it sounded like two of the other kind of backup officers that showed up had this kind of higher level of specialty training. Is there any, because I imagine you kind of come onto a scene, things are going on, and you're going to defer to the person who is kind of on the scene because they know the whole story. And I'm wondering, when it comes to, if that person hasn't had the specialty training and someone is coming in, is there any kind of procedure around that for someone to kind of be like, hey, let's step back and convene? I know those aren't always possible, but I'm just curious if there's...
Well, generally, the first person on the scene is in charge of it until someone else takes it over.
Okay.
So in this case, Sergeant A is the first person there, and then Officer B and I guess Officer C arrive as cover. And at that point, I don't think there was any discussion as to whether they were going to change their approach, because I think by that time, Sergeant A had already decided that it was threshold, wanting to get this person into handcuffs had been met.
I do have another question for Mr. Cook. So there's a point in the transcript where Sergeant A said that he put his bike in front of you, in front of this person as a shield initially, and then you walk around the bike to approach him, and that's when you start to use his man.
I disagree with that. If you look at the video, I was on the sidewalk. I pulled over on the street, up the curb, and he came at me so aggressively I had to pull the bike up on the